Boxing King Media. We've got boxing royalty in the house today with Nico Ali Walsh. Nico, thank you so much for coming on today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's an honor to speak to you today. Obviously, like everybody probably keeps telling you, and you're probably bored of hearing it. Everyone's a fan of your grandfather, and obviously just being able to speak to somebody that's linked to Muhammad Ali, it's an honor.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, I never get bored of it. So thank you.
Yeah, awesome, man. But before we get into all the boxing stuff, I want to get to know you, and I want our followers to get to know Nico, you as a person. What was it like growing up? What kind of stuff were you into? What did you do out of boxing now in your chill time?
Well, honestly, for the majority of my life, my passion has been film. I used to make a lot of movies as a kid. My grandfather was actually the first person who bought me like a camera, like a professional camera for making these films. And yeah, that's still one of my passions outside of boxing. Obviously, boxing has taken over my life, so that is my ultimate passion right now. But yeah, no, I'm into movies. My whole family is, that's how I was raised: movies, film, and just having fun in general.
And please tell me you've still got that camera.
Of course. Yeah, no, I would never sell it or get rid of it in any way. It's got sentimental value now.
Amazing, amazing. Well, you say you're into movies. What kind of stuff have you shot, and what kind of stuff are you into, like movie wise? What would you watch?
Yeah, honestly, my family is like huge horror fans. We just love being scared. We're huge Halloween fans also. So anything scary we love, but movies in general. We're watching movies almost every single day, but that's how my whole family has been. We just, we love movies.
Awesome. Obviously, now like yourself, there's a lot of other young fighters on the rise who have got boxing legacies behind them. There's Prince Nassim's sons. I don't know if you've heard Adam Hamed, who's going to be turning pro later this year. You've got Conor Ben, Campbell Hatton, the Eubanks, and Evan Holyfield, who fought with you recently on the undercard. What's it like being part of that group of the next generation? Carrying the family names forward.
Well, honestly, if I wasn't in the position I am in, I would be following those guys heavily because I just love the idea of a legacy, kind of a relighting of an old flame, that kind of thing. I love the idea of that. So I'm definitely interested in all their careers. I met Evan Holyfield, great guy. He was raised right. I told his dad that, and yeah, I love what these guys are doing, and I think it's really important, and I support them.
Awesome, man. Obviously, your boxing journey started 3 months ago. But say, where you were at 12 months ago, Nico, how's life changed for you now?
It's changed a ton. After my first fight, my whole life has just changed. I'm starting to get recognized, whether it be for boxing or for my grandfather, whatnot. So yeah, I'm living my dream, in boxing with continuing this legacy, that kind of thing. So this is just so much fun. It's a blessing, everything that's happened to me in the last 12 months.
Awesome. I know you've spoken about dealing with the pressure before, but how are you finding it dealing with the fame? Because fame's a different beast in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't see an issue in fame or pressure because I've always looked towards my grandfather for that kind of thing. And the way I saw it is I don't think anyone has more fame than him. I might be biased in saying that, but he handles it real well. He treated everyone the same. And in terms of pressure, he didn't really react to it at all. So I look to him for that kind of stuff. And I don't think that any of that will bother me anytime soon.
Great to hear. Well, what is the earliest memory of your grandfather that you've got?
I remember when I was a super, super little kid, like 3 or 4, maybe. I have little glimpses of going to his, he had a farm up in Michigan that he had like a training, like a gym there. He had his house, and it was just a huge property. And I remember that everyone used to talk about it being haunted, and my grandfather wasn't into ghosts and stuff, and he didn't believe in that kind of stuff. So we would always be talking about it being haunted, and he would always laugh at us. And that's kind of my first memory.
Okay. I'm guessing you've got loads of memories following on from that. Is there one particular memory you can share with people that you may have not shared before that you kind of cherish and you'll always remember?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a ton of memories with him. You know, I've spent so much time with him that it's hard to pick one, but an early memory I have, you know, getting back onto the subject of how my family loves movies, was when we took him to the theater to see King Kong, because obviously it was a remake of the super old King Kong and he was a fan of the old one. So we took him to the theater and everyone was noticing him there at the theater, and it was just hard getting out of the theater because it formed a crowd and stuff. So, but that was really fun, and I love that time. You know, watching that movie with him, getting his reaction of the film, it was just super fun. So that's one.
Awesome. Um, Obviously, as you know, your grandfather was an amazing inspiration to Muslims back then, and even now, you know, decades on, he's still inspiring people all around the world. How important is Islam in your life, and you know, does it play a role in your life? And you know,
Yeah, I mean, I was born and raised to be Muslim, and obviously, of course, I look towards my mom, my grandfather, my great grandmother, because you know my whole family's Muslim basically. So it's a huge part of my life. It's every day. Every day we're praying. We're you know we're practicing Muslims, as they would say, and yeah, it's very important to me. That's one of the things that you know my grandfather held very dear to him. It was race and religion. Those were, you know, he had conviction with those two things, and that's the way I've been since a little kid. If ever anyone were to say something about my religion or my race or my grandfather's race, my mom's race, anybody's race in my family, I would definitely be upset.
yeah, respect that. Obviously, your grandfather, like I said, a massive inspiration to Muslims around the world. You know, how much would it mean to you to like even be able to inspire a small percentage of them people, you know, continuing that legacy in that sort of way?
Yeah, no, that's very important to me. I mean, I don't think people realize how important my religion is to me, and not only just me but my family. I'm blessed to be in the position I'm in right now because you know I'm obviously not a perfect Muslim. I don't think anybody is, but every day I try to improve on you know Islam, and that's just the way I was raised, and I'm very proud to be Muslim, and I love you know learning about the religion, and I love taking part in you know the daily prayers and going to Juma, and yeah, I mean, I would love to be able to inspire Muslims.
Amazing. I've got to mention Mike Tyson. Obviously, I know he tends to hang about in Vegas quite a bit. He was a huge fan of
Yep.
Ali himself. I think one of my favorite quotes about what Mike said about the legend himself was he would be willing to die in the ring. He'd give his
Yeah.
life for this shit, were the exact words.
Yeah.
You know, have you ever spoken to Mike?
I've spoken to him a million times. I was honored that he called my mom. Him and his wife Kiki called my mom when I was in the amateurs, and I had an amateur fight here in Vegas years and years and years ago. And they found out about it, and they were like, "Hey, Mike wants to come to the fight," and he showed up, and it was him with my family just cheering me on, and that meant the absolute world to me, and it still does. But as for that quote, I love that quote, and I remember watching the video of hearing him say that.
He got emotional,
And
didn't he?
I do believe that my grandfather was willing to die in the ring. I do believe that, but I think it's not because he loved boxing so much. He said a million times that boxing wasn't his life. You know, it was because of what boxing stood for and the platform it gave him. You know, it was a lot bigger than just boxing. You know, he wouldn't have died in the ring if it was just for a title fight. It was something bigger than that. You know, he had a lot of people behind him. He had a lot of pressure on him.
100%. To prove that quote, it kind of links me into your next fight, which is at Madison Square Garden. And I don't know if you know this, but the last time Ali fought, there was 1977 against Ernie Shavers, which he describes himself as one of his hardest fights, you know, fighting a big puncher like Ernie.
Yep.
I think he kind of proved in that fight in itself that he'd be willing to die for this shit because he took punishment, but you know, I mean, he went through it and won the fight. How much does it mean to you to be fighting at MSG?
Yeah, like I said, right. I mean, it's super important to be fighting in MSG. That's a dream come true. Literally, it's a dream come true. And I believe my grandfather had 8 fights there. Most notably, he fought Joe Frazier at Madison Square Garden, which I'm just like, astounded that I get to fight there. It's a huge, huge honor. And yeah, my grandfather was willing to die in the ring because of what the ring gave him, what it stood for. And he stood for his people, he stood for his race, his religion. And yeah, I mean, that's the way I was raised. I'm not boxing. I love boxing, but I'm not boxing just to box and be a fighter. I'm not interested in the money, the fame, and the glory. That's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it for something that I feel is a lot deeper to me personally.
100%. And I've got to ask about your boxing style. And me as a fan, if I was to describe it, and the best quote ever, you fight in the sense of floating like a butterfly and you sting like a bee. And your first 2 fights have kind of shown that. Would I be right in saying that?
You know what? It's a huge honor to hear that. I love that. I love being compared to my grandfather.
And I'm not just saying that because that's what you did. That's
yeah,
exactly,
I mean,
you're bouncing away and
yeah, my trainer Sugar Hill teaches that. I wasn't expecting to be taught that. I just listen to whatever he says. I'm certainly not trying to emulate my grandfather, but his style, his floating. We were just talking about it yesterday. Sugar, he teaches a style that looks like you're floating. It's perpetual movement. It's just constant footwork, and yeah, I think it looks beautiful. So I'm happy that I'm learning that.
It is, man. The jab, and your right hand that you showed in the last fight. I'm guessing you don't plan for the knockouts, but obviously when you don't plan for them, you produce really good knockdowns like you did in your last fight. What are you expecting to show in your next fight?
You know what? Every fight I'm looking to improve and better myself, which is, possible. It's going to happen. And I felt like I made mistakes in my first fight. I improved it the second fight. I felt like I've made mistakes in my second fight. I'm going to improve it on the next fight. And if I continue that momentum of just improving each fight, then there's no telling where I can go in boxing. I've got the right people around me with my trainer, Sugar Hill. It's, anything is possible. And I'm just excited for this whole journey.
100%. And I can't let you go without asking about the big fight this weekend. You've got Canelo, Caleb Plant. Obviously, I'm guessing you might be going to the fight. Obviously, it's down the road from you. How do you see that fight going?
Yeah, I hopefully will be going to the fight. I've got to say, Caleb Plant and Canelo, they're the top guys today. I wish them both the absolute best. But for years and years and years, I've been a Canelo fan, and I think he's one of the all-time greats. Not just today's fighters. I think he's one of the pound for pound greatest of all time fighters. And I've been a fan of him, for so many years. So it's going to be a great fight. It's awesome for boxing. The fans are winning with that fight. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Amazing, Nico. Nico, I really want to thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate your time. Do you want to tell the fans where they can follow you on the socials?
Yeah, my Instagram is Nico Ali Walsh, NicoAliWalsh, and then my Twitter is straight on my Instagram, I believe. So yeah, my grandfather loved, more than any other fan base, he loved his fans in the UK. Yeah. So I'm going to be going out in the UK and hopefully fighting there in the sooner rather than later, in the near future. So anyone who would love to follow my career, it would be awesome.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that was one of my questions, but I forgot to ask you. Obviously, you've you've not been to the UK, but there's some amazing footage of your grandfather visiting certain parts of the UK, going to the mosques and meeting and greeting people, and people loved him.
I would love to go to a mosque in the UK. I've never been to a mosque outside of the US, so that would be amazing. But just fighting there would be amazing, because the fans, you got certain fan bases that are just relentless in the best way possible. They're just, diehard fans. And more than that, they just respect. So my grandfather had the respect he had for the fans in the UK is just off the charts. They were rooting, from what Bob Arum tells me, they were rooting him on and cheering him on when nobody else in the world was. So I have mad respect for the fans in the UK. And if I could, tap into that fan base and get even a little bit of fans from the UK, that would be an honor for me.
I think you'd be amazed at the reception you'd get in the UK. It'd blow you away. You know, just the last one on with regards to social media. A lot of people always wonder this. Can you imagine if Muhammad Ali was around in the era of Instagram, Facebook, Twitter? He would blow it up.
Yeah, no, he would blow it up, and you know, he would certainly be getting in trouble with the stuff that he was saying back then. He would be getting in trouble today, but you know, I think everything happened the way it was. He was so big and impactful without social media, so there's no telling what he would do in today's day and age. But I'm glad he grew up. I'm glad he was, you know, in the time period he was in, because social media is good, but you know, a lot of times it could be bad as well. So, you know,
100%.
it's great though that, you know, he did what he did without any social media.
Amazing. Nico, you seem like a genuine young man, and I think you've got a bright future ahead of you, and thank you so much for speaking to us today.
Of course. Thank you so much.
We're going to catch up again, mate. Thank you so much.
Yes, and hopefully I'll see you in person sometime soon.
100%, 100%. All right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Take care, brother.